Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This could be deemed totally silly, but we shall see. I'm determined not to let this dodgy thumb stop me doing stuff, but when I'm doing things where I'm liable to forget and bend it inadvertently, I wear the brace to stop me doing it. Now we're going to see how much we can do with the brace on. Which could be fun. It's also 6:45 in the morning, it's not even daylight, and I've been up since 3 o'clock. I'm fed up, I've done all my computer stuff already, there's nothing else to do at this time of day, and it's probably not very sociable to be talking in your kitchen at this time of day on a Sunday morning when people are probably having their only lie-in of the week because they're at work. But I just sort of think along the lines, if it was a phone call from a family member in another country in a different time zone, you'd take it, wouldn't you? And bearing in mind it's probably the same people coming home from a night out that woke me up in the first place, I'm going to carry on. But I will talk quietly. Right, so I found a mount and I found another one, but this one hasn't got a hook. So first thing we're going to have to try and do is a hook. This could be fun. I mean, luckily the screwdriver bit is it doesn't need a huge amount of strength. It's only cork, and it doesn't even need to use my thumb. I can just hold the screwdriver like that. So this bit worked okay. This is the bit I was a bit worried about. So that screwdriver I've just used has got a sharpened blade. It doesn't get used for screwdrivering. It gets used for making holes. And then I push this crosshead one through, which with a guide has a sort of cutting mechanism because of the crosshead element. That gives me a decent sized hole so that we can put a hook through. I'm hoping I've got all my paraphernalia here. What I do is I put the wire through from the back because I want the hook to go up the back rather than up the front, because it's going to hang on a rack, and if the hook is at the back it's close to the rack, so it works basically. And then I just bend that over the top with my dodgy thumb, which as long as it stays straight we won't be having any conversations, which at this time of the day wouldn't be a good idea, would it? And then what I do is I just pull it up over the top and then pinch that with pliers to hold it tight. And then we've got a nice tight hook, and this makes everything clumsy. I know where this is going to hang, and it doesn't need a long hook, it needs a short one. So we'll cut that off a bit. Bad judgment on my part, wasting wire. And just kink that over. Right, so that's my hook. And I'll do the same with this one, because even though this is pre-made, the hook's far too long. So we've got two shortish hooks now. Should be okay. Right. We won't need all that junk anymore. No flipping newspaper still, so I'm hoping not to make much mess. That's the theory. So I've just seen a very vital thing that's missing. Can you tell what it is yet? We've got mounts, we've got scissors, we've got zombie moss, we've got some live moss, we've got some wire, we've got some fishing line, screwdrivers. What haven't we got? We haven't got a plant, have we? Silly me. I'll be back. Right, there we go. It'll work better with a plant, won't it? Right, so this is where, in anticipation, there are two plants in here. Why I've got two mounts. This is the Orangus Mr. Civii that I haven't had that long, relatively recent purchase, and we do have one big root going through the look, that root's not only come out the bottom of the pot, it's gone back in. So it's come out one hole and gone back in another. The chances of that surviving are very slim. Let's take it off, it's only one root. And this doesn't look like a bad pot full of roots. This is where the brace starts getting in the way. But what I'm pleased about is I don't believe that this was just chucked in the pot to sell. These roots are attached to this bark, which probably means they're going to have to stay attached to this bark, and I may not be able to get these plants apart. So the first problem is, are they actually two plants with just entangled roots, or is this one plant with a plantlet growing out of the base, which would still separate? I'm just trying to get it to fall apart at the moment. Oops, just knocked a leaf off. We'll try not to do that again. They're relatively slow to replace leaves. That came off the small plant. It's difficult to tell whether that's two plants or not, because I'm working in the half light here as well, which doesn't help. Trying to untwine what's going on here. I think they are actually attached, only by root. Aha, there we go. So we have got two plants here. Jolly good. And that leaf's broken as well, so this little plant here is going to end up with two leaves, I'm afraid. That doesn't mean to say it won't grow. It's got active roots. It'll pick up. So that's going to be a small version on a mount. So I can go on the smallest mount, obviously. This bark is going to have to stay there. I've got a couple of roots that need trimming. Not much, just that little one there has got a dead end. And where did I see the other one there? That's got a dead tip there. And I'm going to take that one off, because it's just going to be a nuisance trying to mount it with that one on. And all the other roots look okay, complete with their bits of bark, so that's that one done. And then this one, slightly bigger plant. A couple of dead roots on this one, but not much. Got that one there. They are capable of branching, these roots. They don't do it naturally, let's put it that way, but they can be forced into it by trimming one, and they will branch farther back. Well, they will, let's put it this way, they shoot out farther back, but naturally they grow one long root as a single root. That's what they like to do. I have a dead end there. And I think that'll do there, but again I'm going to take that root off. It's the oldest root there, and it'll stop me mounting it nicely. Ugh. Itchy eye. Right, now we'll get that out of the way. So I've got my live moss in there, so I brought that out to stop making quite so much mess. But, like I always say, mess will clear up afterwards. Ugh. Right, let's see what we can do then. They're both small mounts at the end of the day. Now, this, when you look at that plant, it looks like that, doesn't it? It goes like that. You need to look at the base of the plant. That's where the leaves have started, and they've grown out from there. So that is effectively the front of the plant. But this is a plant that naturally grows out towards the sides and is not an upright growing plant on a mount. So it's going that way, like that. And it can go central because the only thing that's going to go on the mount are the roots. The plant will always stick out sideways like that. So that's all that needs. It just needs its roots spread out. And tying on. So that one's going to be quite simple. And then this one, again, it looks like it should go like that, but it doesn't. It goes like that. And that's how they grow. And their leaves will come up towards the light. I'm hoping I can get that a bit flatter. The roots will spread out quite nicely. And if it's got a reasonably tight tie at that point, it will hold the plant away from the mount slightly. But as I said, as successive leaves grow, the plant will gradually lift. It won't ever grow sticking up. They don't tend to grow like that. They tend to grow out sideways. See that it's tempting to put it like that, but it's just fundamentally wrong like that. Plus it will hold water. That's why they grow that way. Right, so that can go like that then. Right, we do the little one first. Now is where the fun starts, trying to tie with me thumb out of action. And I'm not even sure I'm going to have enough fishing line. I still haven't managed to get any more. We haven't got a huge mount here, but I will want to go round a few times to hold the moss in place. So I'll take quite a length off. My fishing tackle shop, that I said, is a bit of a nuisance because at the moment the road that it's in is actually closed. Or road works, they're digging up the whole flipping area. So it makes getting to it quite difficult, plus it's quite close to the centre of town, and it's just you've got a job to park anywhere. It's just a nuisance basically. I suddenly remembered there's another fishing tackle shop just round the corner. I could walk there, so I won't have a problem getting some. So even if I ran out, I could, go and get some on the same day. They open 7 days a week, so it's not a big deal. As I say, take in a bit of what I've already got and say, can I have some more of that please? Oh, what gauge is that? Don't know, don't care, I just want some similar, so that it's roughly the same thickness. Much thinner than that and it might actually start cutting in. It never has so far, but it could do. So I'd like to go at least this thick again, maybe even a bit thicker. At the end of the day it's clear, isn't it? It doesn't really show once it's on. Now normally I would tie the tie on first, then put the plant on, but because the plant's sitting there quite nicely on its own, it doesn't need it. And normally I might go round at 1 or 2 turns to hold it firmly in place before I start messing with the moss, but again, it's sitting there quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is put some zombie moss on. The reason for the zombie moss is to keep the live moss alive. I know that might sound daft, but the live moss is very thin and dries quickly, and obviously if it keeps drying out all the time, it's not going to grow, it's just going to die. So I want some zombie moss on here to put the live moss on top of, and then the zombie moss holds its water a lot longer, so it will give the live moss a chance to get going. The plant itself doesn't need a lot of moss. This is a fast wet dry cycle required here, so it doesn't need a mountain of moss. It needs a covering with some roots sticking out the end bare, which will obviously dry faster. It's the same principle as I use for the Tolumnias basically. Have a pad of moss in the middle and then have some roots sticking out that will dry very, very fast, and then that should work. I'm trying to keep the moss away from the base of the plant. That doesn't need any moss. It needs to be clear, otherwise it will get soggy. Right, so something like that. Oh, this feels really clumsy with my flipping hand stuck up like this. But needs must. If it's going to get better on its own, it's going to need this. It's going to need this rest and no bending and messing about sort of stuff. For a few more turns yet. Just come around the bottom. Catch that moss at the bottom as well, make sure that's held. I mean, we like to get our roots tight to the mount to make sure that, you know, once they start to grow, they'll attach. But we need to do the same with our moss if we want that to live and grow as well. And this light, this is damn near impossible. Let's see if my pliers can grab hold of that end. I'm not going to get my finger in there, that's for sure. Gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, talk about clumsy. Right. I think. Can't see what the hell I'm doing here. The light, this light, you know, artificial light, catches this fishing line, makes it almost disappear. Hopefully that'll be okay. Ow! Right. That's the little one done. That would have been much better with all 4 leaves and not having lost 2. But one of those was broken anyway. The other one I did break. So we've got some bare roots, yeah, and we've got some covering, and the base of the plant has no moss on it at all. It's clear. So that's one done. Right. Now I'm going to do something different that I wouldn't normally do, but I'm doing it for demonstration purposes. Simply because it's an alternative to what I would normally do. Right, so again we want some zombie moss. That's a bit much. Don't damage. So we don't want a mountain of the flipping stuff. I'll do. Got some roots sticking out. Got a nice bare one there. That'll tie in. And put some live stuff on the top. I really am going to have to do an outing and go and get some more live stuff because we are getting very thin on the ground now. I don't know how good this is going to be on video with this. I mean, I've often got the lights on when I'm filming, but I've got the natural light coming in the window as well. Whereas today, as I say, we haven't even hit the crack of dawn yet. It's pitch dark out there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wire it on instead of tie it, which I don't normally do. But I've got some, this is slightly thinner wire than that black stuff over there. This is bonsai wire, it's incredibly bendy, but when it's bent into shape it stays there. Yeah, so it's not all floppy, but nonetheless it allows you to bend very easily. Of course this is now a whole different principle with wire, because you can put a piece of wire across like that, hook it round the back, and it stays there. So we'll come across there and go round there. Don't you all fall off. We need to go round again. Ouch. That's it. And that doesn't show that much. Yeah, it's tight, the plant's nice and firm. No moss around the base again, a few bare roots, and our big bendy one up the side. Moss fell on it. So I'll just move the moss off because I wanted that one as a bare root, that big long one. Right, and we'll see how that does. So that's just 3 turns. And then round the back, got my first turn there with an end. So some cutters, I'll cut this one off. Somewhere there. And then all we need to do really is turn that. You can do it with the pliers if you like, but when you grab a piece of wire like this and you start the twist going, once you get a few twists, I'll do it with my hands, like that, you've got something that the pliers will grab hold of, pull it and twist again and it tightens it. Like so. Doesn't need to be ridiculously tight. And then in this case, you can just bend those ends round out of sight. So don't, with wire, don't leave ends sticking out. You'll catch your finger on them eventually. So make sure they're tucked in like that. So that's that one done. And without making too much mess, there we go. So we've got our little one with 2 leaves. That should grow a new leaf soon, although it might wait till the spring. These are warm growers, and we're back, we're going into the colder spell now. And then this one already has signs of a new leaf, I think. So we've tried tying one, a little bit fiddly, it's more delicate, and we've tried wiring one, which quite honestly anybody can do that, just wind a piece of wire around like that, that's not a big deal. And tightening mechanisms, you can use the twist method, or round the back you've got a hollow. All you've got to do is push it in like that and it tightens. So if you need to, if you weren't tight enough in the first place. So there we go, Rhengus mysticidi ×2, both mounted. That didn't take too long. Well, I think I said at the beginning it was 7:15 and it's now 5 past. So in theory this video is 20 minutes long. What does it say? 18. That'll do anyway. Now, although it's Sunday morning, I've got my Sunday chat video to do later today, preferably in the daylight. So this will probably be Monday's video now. I haven't got anything else planned for Monday. So that'll be a nice little kitchen time for Monday. And I've got some pots to do, and some of those might end up getting mounted, but these 2 were definite mounts, and 2 in the same pot that needed separating. I got caught once. I went to a show with a beautiful Orchids with a lovely set of spikes on, in full bloom. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I got told you can't put that in a competition, it's 2 plants on the same mount, so they wouldn't judge it. So that's why we've got them both separate now, in case that ever happens again. That's if we're ever allowed to go to a show again, of course. The words of wisdom from the sages at the Orchid Societies think that our spring shows are in doubt. February and March time, and they're already thinking that we probably won't be able to have them. So we're getting into next year's thinking, and already it looks like there'll be cancellation. So it's all good fun, isn't it?